Our session today is about the unwritten rule of attitude. Now, in many respects, this is the most challenging session that I produce because I think as a culture, we really like to talk about attitude. Some of you have already given a lecture on attitude. If you have kids, the lecture goes something like this. You're talking with your son, you're talking with your daughter, and they say one thing, so naturally, you say another. So they say one thing and you say another, and it goes back and forth. Finally, you look at your son and you say this, "Son, you had better change your attitude." How many of you can identify with this lecture? Some of you have employees that you have to work with them, and they're young people, and you're thinking to yourself, they got an attitude problem. Now, the fascinating part for me, I do some work at the collegiate level, and I always ask students this. How many of you in here think it's your parents that have the attitude problem? You wouldn't believe what they say. It's close to 200%. Everybody thinks it's the parents. Most of us deal with attitude as a bipolar disease. Now, what I mean by that is that we either think of attitude as positive or negative. Has anybody in here ever gone to a speech and you see a motivational speaker and they get up in front of you and they're pumped and they're excited, way too much caffeine, and they're going like this, "Gotta be positive." How many of y'all ever saw someone like that? The first thing that came to your mind is, that guy is brain dead. He has absolutely no clue. So today, I'm not going to stand in front of you and say, you need to be positive. Instead, what I'd like to do, if you'll let me, is simply offer up to you one big idea. One idea that is somewhat different about how you look at attitude that can affect your life. So let's go ahead and have some fun. Let me give you the big idea. The big idea is this. Attitude is a choice. Attitude is a choice that you get to make on a daily basis. Several years ago, I made that assertion, and I actually had a woman in the audience come up to me afterwards and do something like this. She said, "Mike, you have no idea what you're talking about." I'm saying, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well," and then she proceeded to list for me everything in her life that was going wrong. And so that we're on the same page and that we're working together on this, I need to ask you this question. How many of you already this year, and I expect this to be almost 100% because of the superstorm that came through, how many of you have already had something happen to you in your life that if you had a choice, it would not have happened to you? Let me see a show of hands on that. Here's the challenge and here's the change. That's not what I'm talking about. You see, what happens to you is called life. How you choose to respond to what happens to you is your attitude. You see, here's what I'm asking you to do. And you need to picture this if you can. As you go through life, good things happen to everybody. No one has a problem with that. You get a contract, you score a goal in soccer, it could be anything, and eventually you come back down to earth. In a similar fashion, there's going to be things that happen to you that if you had a choice, they wouldn't happen to you. My contention is that your success or failure as a team in life is almost always defined at this point in time. And here's the choice I'm asking you to make. I'm asking you to choose to bounce back. To bounce back and shorten the bounce back cycle as best you can. So here's the big idea. Attitude's a choice. I like this quote from William James. He was a psychologist at Harvard. And basically what he said is that the greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes of mind. So today, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at how do you build resiliency? How do you develop the bounce back cycle?